Hello there, and welcome to the Dreamy Scientist, where curiosity gets cozy and science takes the scenic route to slumber. Tonight's gentle journey flows through one of the quietest yet most constant miracles within us, the beating of the human heart. Without a word, it pulses with purpose, again and again, day and night, never asking for rest. But how does it know when to start? And why does it never forget to continue? What hidden signals guide its rhythm, and who or what sets its pace from the very first beat? But before we wander into the whispering chambers of the heart, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from, and what time is it for you right now? Fitting, isn't it? A video about the quiet thump of time within us. And here we are, scattered across time zones, each of us listening to our own steady drumbeat of life. If you find this voyage soothing, intriguing, or just a gentle way to unwind after a long day, I'd be ever so grateful if you gave the video a like and perhaps subscribed. It helps this little corner of calm reach others who might need a peaceful pause too. Now, I do hope this isn't so fascinating that it keeps you awake. But if it does, well, at least you'll have learned something beautiful about the rhythm inside your chest before you drift off. So, settle in, slow your thoughts, and let's begin. You lie beneath layers of remembered warmth, as if swaddled once more inside the velvet hush of your mother's womb, where light exists only as rumour and time is measured by the slow swirl of amniotic tides. In that oceanic night, a single cell inside you once stirred, flexing with curiosity older than thought, and the universe seemed to pause, listening for a promise. Nothing else in your tiny forming body had yet chosen a vocation. Limbs were budding sketches, nerves mere whispers, lungs only dreaming of air. Yet this solitary pioneer inhaled the dark and exhaled decision. It would beat, it would mark the moments, it would claim rhythm as its instrument and responsibility as its art. In the hush, it twitched again, coaxing calcium and potassium to trade places, spiraling a voltage through its fragile membrane like dawn cracking the horizon. One spark, then two, then a gentle cascade of echoes, each pulse persuading neighbouring cells to abandon silence and follow the newborn tempo. You did not hear that first contraction, but its flutter wrote the opening line of your lifelong lullaby. Even now, if you close your eyes, you can almost feel the memory of that origin ripple backward through your tissues, a secret returning to its birthplace. It tells you that certainty can arise without command, that sometimes knowledge is simply what a cell feels compelled to do. The primal beat gathers confidence, a drummer tapping a single hand on stretched hide, summoning other hands into the circle, teaching them when to strike and when to rest. Blood, still colorless and tentative, begins its earliest journey, carrying whispered instructions to distant embryonic shores. And somewhere beyond, in the cosmic dark beyond your mother's skin, the Milky Way spins its own patient spiral, as if to show solidarity with this brand new orbit set turning beneath it. You are, from the beginning, a choreography of cycles nested within cycles, galaxies within droplets, eternity rehearsing inside minutes. What you feel now as the quiet tap in your chest is an unbroken continuation of that first audacity, proof that beginnings can be gentle, yet irreversible, that life writes its signature before it learns your name. Return to that moment and rest there. The cradle rocks, the tide turns, and the whisper that starts it all is still speaking. Now the single drummer becomes a choir. Week by week, as you float in the warm dusk, cells cluster on the inner wall of your primitive heart tube, drawn together by electrical gossip and the soft magnetism of shared purpose. They fuse their intentions, composing what scientists will later name the sino-atrial node, but what you may think of, even now, as a candle whose flame never exhausts its wick. These cells do not wait for outside signals. They pass charged notes among themselves, slight depolarizations that rise and fall with the certainty of breath. Around them, muscle fibers elongate, twist, and fold, shaping chambers like cupped hands ready to ladle life. Endocardial cushions swell and merge, crafting doors that will open and close more than 2 billion times without needing oil or hinge. You drift, listening to the architecture assemble, though ears have not yet unfurled. Every minute new branches sprout from your forming vessels, reaching toward limbs that do not yet wave, sculpting shortcuts that will later vanish once lungs greet air. The heart rehearses independence. It loops its own loop, pumps its own pump, confident that other organs will catch up. Scientists often say the heart is responsive, that it works for you. But within these waters it feels sovereign, issuing ultimatums in pressure and pulse, insisting that the rest of you organize around its timetable. You surrender gladly. What greater comfort can there be than a leader whose only command is to keep moving the warmth around? Outside, your mother may be humming to herself or laughing at a joke, and the vibrations ripple through her diaphragm into the womb's walls. Tiny bursts of serotonin ride those tremors, touching your cells like stray beams of moonlight filtering through shade. The node notes them, quickens infinitesimally, then settles, as though nodding acknowledgement. Even before nerves connect heart to brain, emotion arrives as chemistry, altering the rhythm by fractions too small to measure yet large enough to make you feel accompanied. Some researchers later call this entrainment. You will remember it only as a vague recollection that another being once shared their cadence with yours. And although you are submerged in near silence, you are never alone. Each pulse chimes inside a larger bell, and the brief gaps between contractions form pockets of stillness, where imagination first learns to breathe. In those pauses, the heart whispers, "Wait and watch." Greatness grows in the quiet intervals. Soon the chambered heart bends into its familiar shape, spiral curves wrapping themselves like ivy around an invisible trellis of intention. The pacemaker's current travels through atrial walls in shimmering sheets, then pauses at a slender vestibule, the atrioventricular node, as polite as a traveller removing shoes before entering sacred ground. Delay is vital, a breath's worth of patience that allows blood to fill the ventricles before the next surge. In that lingering heartbeat, you discover that timing is not merely motion, but wisdom, knowing when to hold, when to let go. Bundles of his Purkinje fibers, dew bright and eager, sprint the signal to the ventricular walls, where muscle spirals tighten from apex to base, twisting your tiny body with just enough force to stir embryonic rivers. At the microscopic level, junctions open like country gates, permitting ions to gallop from cell to cell almost faster than thought, though thoughts, strictly speaking, have yet to bloom. Calcium floods in like sunrise through old chapel windows. Potassium slips out like dusk shadowing the cobblestones. Voltage rises, voltage falls, and in each rise and fall a lesson seeds itself. Energy requires exchange. Life is maintained by generosity of charge. The surrounding gel of mesenchyme quivers with approval, knitting connective tissue that will later bear the memory of every beat. The spiral geometry is no accident. It is the most efficient way to wring blood upward against the draw of gravity you have not yet met. the same geometry galaxies favor when folding stars into arms. To imagine the scale is to place a nebula inside a teardrop, watching both rotate in the same slow waltz. You're a cartographer mapping pressure gradients, drawing invisible isobars that reveal where force must travel. Even as your eyelids remain fused, your heart drafts its own atlases, and each blueprint contains the instruction. Repeat until the story is told. Outside, the world is woven of voices you cannot decipher. Inside, you already speak fluent rhythm. If someone could shrink themselves and swim beside you, they would hear the steady lapped up as music with only 2 notes, yet those notes modulate subtly with every nutrient, every hormone drifting by. Here is your first symphony, simple motif, endless variation. And inside that endlessness, you begin to sense a vow larger than language. I will carry you through storms you cannot yet name. The loops expand. Blood, once content to churn within the heart's cradle, now ventures along slender byways toward the yolk sac and the chorionic villi, where it will barter carbon dioxide for oxygen in the marketplace of the placenta. You, still unacquainted with lungs, rely on this shimmering exchange as a traveller relies on a distant lighthouse. Hemoglobin molecules, crimson barges with iron keels, ferry gases softly, every voyage returning to the harbour of the heart, which redistributes their cargo with a renewed flourish. Flow begets feedback. As vessels feel pressure rising, they release nitric oxide, a sigh expand in their own diameter, preventing turbulence from bruising tender walls. Turbulence, so dangerous later in life, remains for now an old story told around a future campfire. Within the calm current you learn diplomacy. Arteries yield, veins accept, capillaries negotiate. And the heart, sensing all, adjusts stroke volume, altering its contractile strength like a storyteller leaning closer when the chapter grows exciting. There is no central committee, no written constitution, only the language of stretch and release. Your myocardium reads the tension in its fibers the way a potter judges clay between fingertips. Frank Starling law, textbooks will call it. You will know it simply as the heart's gift for empathy. Feel more, give more. You float, rocked by these principles and by the muffled heartbeat of the person who carries you. Sometimes her pulse quickens when she climbs stairs, and yours answers, a child trying to keep pace with an elder's stride. Other times she rests beneath a window where afternoon sun paints gold across her skin, and your heart slows to mirror her serenity. In synchrony, you practice for a duet that lasts only 9 months but echoes for decades. Meanwhile, electrical remodeling continues. Ion channels refine their gating speeds. The sarcoplasmic reticulum stockpiles calcium like fireworks awaiting a festival night. The epicardium stretches across the surface, secreting factors that coax coronary vessels to burrow inward, ensuring that the heart will one day feed itself while feeding the body. Self-care nested inside service, a pattern you will contemplate many nights hence when choosing how to love others without forgetting your own needs. The loops enlarge again, branching into a network so intricate that if unwound and laid end to end, it would already span 0.5 meter, an astonishing roadmap for a being only centimeters long. Still the heart beats, content, unspectacular, steady as the tide tapping a shore nobody has yet walked. Days blur into one another like watercolor on wet paper, and your heartbeat keeps the count even when no numbers exist. The mechanical shudder of valves and walls feels inseparable from the crackle of ion currents. Electricity and muscle entwine the way wind and wheat create a single moving landscape. If you listen with the inner ear of imagination, you may notice subtle variations, tiny accelerations when glucose levels rise, brief decrescendos during your first practice naps. Yes, even before birth you slip into something resembling sleep, lullabies composed of your mother's circulating melatonin guiding you into quieter cycles. While you drift, the heart explores its lower registers, testing how gently it can pump without losing the thread. Each slowed beat is a question. Is this still enough? The ventricles answer by adjusting force, the atria by trimming their prelude, the vessels by relaxing smooth muscle. Together they maintain the fundamentals of flow, leaving you free to dream cells into muscles, neurons into dreams. Scientists will later debate whether fetuses dream. You can already feel story shapes unfurling behind your closed forehead. Vague, formless architectures that will mature into memory palaces. When they appear, the heart quickens, as if cheering the creativity of its distant sibling, the brain. In that quickening lies the first hint of partnership, the first suggestion that you're not an assembly of organs but a conversation among them. The gut sends hormones that whisper about nutrient supply. The liver replies with adjustments in glucose release, and the heart listens, responding with tempo and pressure. Communication as rhythm. Even silence has cadence here. And always there is the repetend, the reassuring refrain, lupped up, echoing inside your tiny ribless cavity, an anchor in a sea of unpredictability. Sometimes, when amniotic fluid sways with your mother's laughter, you almost imagine the beat belonging to a larger being who has lived for ages and will live on long after you. Then you remember, that larger being is partly you. Her blood nourishes you. Your presence changes her. Two metronomes leaning toward alignment until birth separates them into call and response. Until then, your heart practices endurance, building mitochondrial furnaces, stockpiling myoglobin, preparing for the marathon that begins the moment lungs gasp and placental shunts close forever. And though you cannot articulate this future, the anticipation thrums in every beetle-bright sarcoma, urging the next contraction and the next. Near the twilight edge of gestation, when your fingertips finally graze each other and your eyelids flutter open to the red rose light, the heart senses that an epoch is ending. Ductus venosus, foramen oval, ductus arteriosus, shunts that once served as convenient shortcuts, prepare to rewrite their roles. The pacemaker notes subtle chemical telegrams, surges of cortisol, crescendos of catecholamines, a soft decrease in placental oxygen as space grows tight. These messages read like secret rehearsal notes for a grand premiere, and with every passing hour your heart refines its timing, trimming milliseconds from conduction delays, fortifying gap junctions so that no impulse wanders astray. Though fluid still cradles you, lungs practice by sipping amniotic fluid in tentative rhythmic swells, and each simulated breath gently compresses pulmonary arteries, sending ripples back to the right ventricle. The ventricle responds by thickening its wall, fashioning strength it will soon relinquish once oxygen flows freely. Everything rehearses transition. The metabolic pathways, the endocrine handoff, the muscular readiness of arteries that must face atmospheric pressure. Yet amid this bustle, the beat remains calm, almost conversational. It knows what you cannot yet know, that chaos will briefly reign when cold air hits skin, that valves will slam shut like heavy doors in a storm, that circuits will reroute in a matter of heartbeats, and that new patterns will emerge with a confidence learned in darkness. Until then, the heart holds you in a steady lull, its cadence neither too fast nor too slow, like a storyteller pacing breath for the climax still veiled. Listen. Doop-dup, doop-dup. The spacing widens, inviting air into the story even before air arrives. The pause between notes stretches, spacious as dawn waiting behind the horizon, and in that pause stands a promise. Soon, a new kind of light will strike your closed eyelids, and everything will quicken in response. Not yet, the beat seems to say, but almost. Almost. For now the womb echoes with the tidal thunder of your mother's circulation, and the quieter counter-rhythm of your own. Two drummers preparing a final duet before they part ways, and the solo truly begins. The next contraction will arrive. First hers, then yours, and the world will open around you like a shell splitting to reveal pearl. But even as the shell cracks, the beat you carry now will remain, guiding, guarding, counting down the final measures before the downbeat of first breath. Yet even these meticulous preparations reveal only part of the mystery, for beneath the visible choreography of muscle and vessel lies an invisible council of molecules whose deliberations shape destiny. Within each pacemaker cell, tiny proteins called HCN channels sway like reeds in an unseen current, opening just enough to allow a trickle of charged ions to leak inward. Scientists will later nickname this flow the funny current, and perhaps the term suits it, for what could be more quietly amusing than a leak that keeps you alive? The funny current lifts the resting voltage, nudging the cell toward threshold the way sunrise lifts eyelids, and when the threshold is crossed, a calcium storm bursts across the membrane, and an action potential rises like birds flushed from grass. Neighbouring cells feel the jolt and answer in unison, and so the wave spreads, predictable as surf rolling toward shore. You do not supervise this council, you are its beneficiary. In the gentle dark, your entire future is being protected by proteins no larger than specks of dust, and they in turn depend on genes folded thousands of times inside each nucleus. Somewhere in those spiral pages your inheritance is recorded, the cadence your ancestors carried across wars and migrations, across lullabies sung in forgotten dialects. Perhaps a great-great-grandmother's stress echo still reverberates within your intervals between beats, or the slow pulse of an ancestor who spent evenings listening to river water, letting calm seep all the way to her marrow. These memories live in code and chemical preference, and your heart deciphers them without the burden of recollection, letting them guide the subtle upticks and downticks of your rhythm. Meanwhile, mitochondria, the heart's tireless hearthkeepers, stack themselves like glowing coals between sarcomas, converting nutrients into ATP sparks that snap into myosin heads, driving filament slides on which each contraction rides. The economy is cyclic. ATP becomes ADP, then is rebuilt. Calcium floods in, then is sequestered. Sodium arrives, potassium departs. An endless market whose transactions all translate into motion. And motion, once created, sustains the market in return, because fresh flow brings oxygen to stoke more sparks. You are, from the outset, a perfect case study in circular causality. Inside this self-feeding loop, pacemaker cells dream forward, anticipating the moment when neural crest cells will finish wiring the autonomic lines that let heaven and earth, brain and viscera, speak across the same frequency. But that wiring is still incomplete, dangling like telephone cables waiting for a final splice, and until the connection is sealed, the heart answers to no one but itself. authority within solitude. A monarch ruling a kingdom it also builds beat by beat, pulse by pulse, under the dim starlight of amniotic suspension. And so the hours pass, each counted not by clocks on walls, but by the lantern behind your sternum, sweeping its beam across calm water. You float, and the node glows. You turn, and it adjusts. You wander into half-dreams, and it keeps watch. Soon, though soon is only a feeling, compression will ripple through the womb, urging you outward. When that summons comes, the node will flare, shortening space between peaks, pushing blood faster through vessels it has trained. Signals will dart along fibers of his and Purkinje, lighting every crossing, steadying each valve. In that quickened anthem you will sense for the first time a conductor hidden inside the music, a quiet leader whose baton is a leak of ions, yet whose command can stir rivers of muscle into motion, guiding you toward the instant when darkness breaks, and your first breath folds into its rhythm, and in that merging of air and pulse a question, unheard but insistent, begins to rise. A question rises, not in words, but in rhythm. It does not ask, "What now?" It simply is, pulsing forward like a tide already in motion. And from deep within your chest, before lungs know air and before thought knows shape, your heart answers, yes, with the steady nod of its own making. But yes does not come from your mind. It comes from something smaller, quieter, more certain. A cluster of cells tucked in the upper chamber of your right atrium, where the wall is thin and the light of your new world has not yet reached. Here sits your heart's master of time, the sinoatrial node, or a CA node, though it has no need for names. What it knows is impulse, the way flint knows fire, or morning knows to come. It is not loud, it is not grand, but it is constant. You might imagine it like a campfire in a clearing, embers glowing against the hush, or perhaps like a conductor raising her baton in silence, waiting for the first swell of a symphony only she can hear. The SA node sends its signal out in soft waves, carried not by messengers, but by a kind of current that flows without water. Electrical, yes, but not like the crackle of wires or the flick of a switch. Number this current is more like breath made visible, a ripple of permission that moves cell to cell, saying, "You may contract now, you may follow me," and the heart listens. Each pulse begins here, with a slow gathering of readiness. Inside the pacemaker cells, delicate channels open, HCN channels, funny channels as scientists call them, though there's nothing humorous in their devotion. These tiny portals allow sodium and potassium ions to tiptoe across the membrane, raising the voltage of the cell like the sun warming a sleeping hillside. And when the threshold is reached, just enough charge, just the right moment, calcium rushes in like applause, and the signal is born. The wave leaves the SA node and sweeps across the atria, the upper chambers of your heart, causing them to contract together with practiced grace. This is the prelude, the drawing in, the soft gathering of blood from above. But the signal does not rush ahead blindly. No, it pauses, a breath's worth of time, at the atrioventricular node, as though asking permission to enter the deeper chambers. This moment of pause is vital. It allows your ventricles, the powerful lower chambers, to fill, to gather strength, to wait for the right cue. The SA node knows this. It sends the beat not only with precision, but with patience. Timing is everything, and the node is a master of timing. As your body grows and your nerves begin to wrap their delicate arms around the heart, the SA node becomes a bridge between systems, autonomic, muscular, emotional, But for now, in these earliest days of life, it operates alone, independent and unsupervised, like a candle that lights itself in a dark room. It does not need permission to begin, nor does it wait for instruction. Its wisdom is inherent, folded into its very being, encoded in its shape and salt and spark. You might wonder, how does it know? How does this tiny patch of cells decide when to beat, and how fast, and for how long? The truth is, it listens. Listens to your body's chemistry, your blood's whispers, the messages carried by hormones floating like dandelion seeds through the bloodstream. When adrenaline arrives, the SA node quickens its pace, like hooves striking faster on stone. When the parasympathetic system nudges gently with acetylcholine, it slows, allowing rest. Even before you're fully born, your heart is learning to respond, not only to need, but to feeling. And at the center of it all, the node, never sleeping, always sensing. Imagine its rhythm now, not metronomic, not robotic, but alive. Slightly irregular in its perfection, the way waves break differently on the same shore. This is the gift of the SA node. It creates rhythm, but it leaves room for variation, for adaptation, for breath. Because life is not rigid, it dances, and so must the beat that sustains it. And though it is small, only a few millimeters long, the node holds immense power. Without it, the orchestra would lose its cue, the signal would wander, the rhythm would falter. This is why your body protects it, tucks it into place like a jewel inside a vault. And yet, for all its importance, the node is never proud. It simply does its work, quietly, invisibly, letting each beat ripple outward like rings in water. As you grow, the influence of the node spreads. Its signals become more refined, its patterns more predictable. You learn to sleep, and the beat slows. You wake, and it rises. You feel startled, and the pace leaps ahead. You feel safe, and it sinks back into calm. The SA node watches all of this without judgment, only adjustment. It is the pulse behind every mood, the tempo beneath every thought. Later in life, you may find moments when your chest quickens unexpectedly. Before a first kiss, a difficult decision, a memory that returns like a ghost in the afternoon. And though the SA node does not understand these things in words, it understands them in current. It will answer them. It always does. Even in illness, even in grief, even in a hush between heartbreak and healing. It never stops counting, never stops calling the next beat forward. But in these early days, when lungs are still rehearsing breath and light has not yet dazzled your retinas, the node is your constant companion. It has no face, no name, no voice, but it speaks. It speaks in intervals. It speaks in repetition. And through that repetition, your very self begins to trust that time will keep moving, that warmth will keep flowing, that the next moment will always arrive. The beat it produces does more than circulate blood. It creates a feeling of forwardness, of motion within stillness. Even now, in the quiet dark, as you float and twist in your liquid cradle, you are not truly still. You are being carried, not just by your mother's body, but by the rhythm she does not control, a rhythm seeded in you, a rhythm that will carry you into air, into laughter, into stories told by firelight and mornings woken by birdsong. The SA node does not require your gratitude, but if you pause to notice the steadiness in your chest, the reliable thrum beneath your thoughts, you may feel a kind of awe, not for its complexity, though it is complex, not for its beauty, though it is beautiful, but for its loyalty. This quiet leader has never once betrayed you. It has never forgotten its post. It has never demanded rest. And so the signal travels again, across the atria, down the septum, into the ventricles, each contraction a result of a single spark. That spark will become so familiar to you that you will stop noticing it. But now, in this soft place between becoming and being, you can feel it as something holy. Because here is the truth. The heart does not wait to be asked. It simply knows when to begin. And just as the signal prepares to leave the atrioventricular node and journey downward, something else stirs below. A pathway forming, fibers aligning, an invitation. The signal stirs below. Like a traveller passing through a quiet checkpoint, it leaves the atrioventricular node with careful timing, then slips downward into the bundle of his, a slender highway of specialized fibers carved into the inner wall of your heart's septum. It travels not as a shout, but as a suggestion, a current wrapped in purpose, flowing faster now, more decisively, as if gravity itself has picked up the baton. The bundle branches right and left, diverging with elegance like river tributaries seeking distant valleys. Along their length, the signal quickens, coursing into the Purkinje fibers, fine thread-like paths that fan across the inner walls of the ventricles. This is where the real surge begins, where the preparation becomes performance. And you, still nestled within a fluid world of softness and murmurs, begin to feel the full might of this electrical event. It is not harsh or jolting. It does not crackle like lightning or flash like machines. No, it rolls through the heart like warmth moving through muscle, like a hand pressed gently into the chest, not to restrain, but to reassure. The impulse reaches the bottom of your ventricles first. Strange, isn't it? And from there it spreads upward, coaxing the chambers to squeeze from apex to base, like toothpaste from the bottom of the tube, like the lifting of a curtain from floor to sky. This upward contraction forces blood out, one half to the lungs, the other to your tiny forming body, and the entire movement has been choreographed without your conscious consent. Electricity in your heart is not about speed alone. It is about precision, about direction, about trust. The heart trusts that the signal will come, that the cells will know how to respond, that the gates will open and close at the right times, and your body, in turn, begins to trust this process, subconsciously, deeply, the way we trust the tide to return, the way we trust night to cradle the sun. You do not control this circuit, but it is yours. It belongs to your cells, your ions, your inherited design. It is both blueprint and music, echo and command, and every beat, even now, even in this hidden space before birth, is electric. What is electricity in the body, really? Not the kind that lights homes or powers machines, but something quieter, more intimate. In your cells, electricity is created by the movement of charged particles. Ions across membranes. These particles don't move randomly. They are pulled and pushed by gradients, attracted and repelled, like small magnets in a dance choreographed by nature itself. Sodium, potassium, calcium, all with their preferences, their habits, their roots. The membrane of a cardiac cell holds them like a gatekeeper, allowing passage only at the right time, in the right way. And when the gates open, briefly, precisely, the result is a sudden shift in charge, a wave of excitement that rushes down the line. Your heart's electrical system is, in this way, not so different from a line of dancers, each waiting for the one before to step forward, or like dominoes tipping, not with collapse, but with celebration. Each cardiac cell is excitable. It can be stirred into action by its neighbour, and when the wave comes, it is not a solo performance. It is a group affirmation. Yes, we're alive. Yes, we will move. Even now, your tiny lungs rest quiet, still unneeded, still wrapped like wings yet to open. But the signal sent from the SA node, now travelling through the Purkinje system, prepares your body for a world that runs on breath. That rhythm, the inhale, the exhale, will one day speak to your heart in whispers. As you breathe in, the heart will quicken. As you breathe out, it will slow. This phenomenon, respiratory sinus arrhythmia, isn't a flaw or a glitch. It's a conversation. Your lungs and heart, different instruments, tuning themselves to play in harmony. That future harmony begins here, in the earliest moments, when electrical currents establish not just order, but relationship. Each part of your body, though distinct, learns how to speak in charge and impulse. The nervous system learns the language. The muscles respond in kind, and deep inside, the lungs, though silent, begin to build the scaffolding for their role. Vascular networks extend like roots, lining alveoli like lace. Surfactant begins to form, microscopic soap that will one day prevent the air sacs from collapsing when you take your first breath. And your heart waits for them, patiently, pulsing blood toward them, preparing them for oxygen's arrival. Everything in you practices, everything rehearses. But the electricity does not hesitate. It does not need rehearsal. It flows naturally, automatically, perfectly, through every beat. The ventricles squeeze, the valves close, the atria refill, and once again the cycle resets, initiated not by thought, but by that quiet leader in the upper right chamber who simply knows when it's time. This electric cascade is the core of life. When people speak of the heart's beat, they often mean the thud, the muscular contraction. But before that movement, before that sound, there is spark. Always spark. That spark depends on readiness. Each cardiac cell has a resting potential, a kind of quiet tension, like a singer holding breath before a note. The cell is ready, but waiting. Ions are positioned carefully. Sodium outside, potassium inside, calcium stored in sarcoplasmic reticulum like treasure in a chest. When the wave comes, when the signal arrives, it opens gates, and the ions rush, and the cell erupts in voltage. This change, this temporary reversal of charge, spreads to neighbouring cells who respond in kind, and the pattern continues, creating a wave that becomes the contraction you never have to ask for. You will not remember learning this, but your body will remember for you. It will remember that each beat begins as potential. That potential, when honoured, becomes action, and that action, repeated, becomes rhythm. It is the same lesson you will encounter later in 100 different ways, when writing, when walking, when loving. First, the stillness, then the spark. Even in adulthood, this electrical system remains. It does not tire. It adjusts, of course. Your heart will beat faster when you run, slower when you sleep, irregularly at times when emotions churn the chemistry of your blood. But the machinery beneath, the ion channels, the nodal architecture, the fibre networks, remains. You are born with this brilliance, and you carry it to your last day. The beauty of it is in its invisibility. You can live your whole life without seeing the bundle of his, without touching a Purkinje fibre, without opening the chambers to view the flow of current. And yet, you feel it. Every second, you feel it. The quiet nudge beneath your ribs, the sudden flutter before a surprise, the calm, steady hum when you rest in someone's arms. All of that is electrical. All of that is cellular. All of that is you. And in those moments, when you pause, when you place your hand over your heart and feel the gentle bump beneath your fingers, you're connecting to the circuit. You're hearing your own internal current, not in volts or amps, but in something older than that. Something softer. Something like belonging. And as that signal finishes its journey through your ventricles, causing them to contract in perfect unison, another process begins. Repolarization. The ions return to their original places, the cell resets, it rests, it breathes, it waits again for the next spark. There is, in this, a rhythm of work and rest, a lesson, quiet but vital. You must reset to begin again. The electricity does not complain. It does not ask for praise. It does not even know it is performing miracles. It simply flows. And just as one wave of current fades, another begins to rise, up near the SA node, always watchful, always ready, sending its message down the line, preparing the next pulse, the next spark, the next small and faithful beat. The next beat rises, carried not only by electricity but by the memory of the one before it. Because by now your heart is not just a pump, not merely a machine humming along a coded track. It is a creature of remembrance. Its muscle, made of intricate strands of cardiac fibers, does not simply contract because it is told to. It contracts because it remembers how. Each filament, each cell, each tightly woven junction has learned through repetition what it means to pulse, to release, to gather again. This isn't conscious memory, not the kind you will one day use to recall a name or a melody. This is the kind of memory that lives inside the body, the kind that does not ask, only knows. Cardiac muscle is unlike any other in your body. It is not the slow, stretching muscle of limbs, nor the soft, weaving tissue of organs. It is strong, resilient, endlessly rhythmic, and deeply connected. Its fibers branch like the limbs of a tree, joining one another at junctions called intercalated discs, tiny meeting points, lined with gap junctions and desmosomes, where cells clasp hands and whisper to each other in voltage. These connections allow them to move as one, not in a chaotic crowd, but in a single coordinated wave, as if the entire heart were one muscle, one breath, one will. These signal moves, and the cells remember what to do, not because they were instructed, but because they had done it before, over and over again, since your earliest days in the womb. In this way, the heart teaches itself. Each contraction reinforces the path. Each release marks the tempo. The sarcomeres, the repeating units of muscle that slide to create movement, stack like bricks in a cathedral wall, not only holding structure, but forming an architecture of repetition. Within each sarcomere, actin and myosin filaments pull and glide, like oars rowing in perfect unison. And when calcium floods in, it binds to troponin, uncovering sites where these filaments can grasp and slide, generating force in the most elegant of ways, a tension without strain, a motion without waste. Then calcium leaves, and the grip releases. The cycle ends, only to begin again. Over time, the heart becomes so efficient in this movement, so sure of its rhythm, that even silence between beats holds potential. Not absence, but anticipation. You don't need to control this. You never have. The memory is deeper than decision. It's written into the very shape of the heart wall, where fibers twist in spirals and helices, creating a motion not just of squeezing, but of ringing. like hands twisting cloth to release water. This spiral motion helps blood move upward, out of the ventricles, against gravity and toward your lungs, your brain, your fingertips. And the muscle does not tire easily. It contains more mitochondria than any other tissue in your body, tiny energy generators packed between filaments like coals in a stove, because this movement, this remembering, must never cease. Think of it. Even now, your heart has never rested longer than a pause. It has never taken a break. From the moment it began, it has sustained its pattern, beat after beat, breath after breath, without losing the thread. It is the most devoted kind of remembering, the remembering that is life. And yet, this muscle is not rigid. It does not cling blindly to pattern. It listens. It adapts. If your body needs more blood, more oxygen, more motion, the heart answers. It increases contractility, speeds its pace, deepens the ring of its fibers. If the need lessens, it slows. This is not just reflex, it is intelligence. Not the kind found in thought, but the kind built into the weave of muscle that knows how to change without forgetting who it is. Later in life, if your heart grows stronger, through endurance, through care, through quiet attention, its muscle becomes more efficient. It can beat slower, but with greater strength. And if it suffers, through stress, disease, neglect, it remembers that too. Scars may form, rhythms may change, but even in those trials the heart searches for its way back, the way a river might, after a landslide, carve a new route while still seeking the ocean. There is something profoundly faithful about cardiac muscle. It does not ask if it is loved. It simply serves. It does not seek glory, only continuation. It is a worker, a keeper, a quiet bearer of your days. And though it lives in darkness, behind ribs and sternum it reflects more light than any candle, because with each pulse it gives not only blood but rhythm, structure, purpose. And what of the sound it makes? The lubbed up that becomes the background song of your life? That sound is not the spark. It is not the electricity. It is the echo of memory turned to motion. It is the closing of valves, the thrum of chambers responding to remembered signals. And yet, you come to know this sound as your own. When you place your hand to your chest in moments of fear or calm, it is not logic you seek. It is recognition. You want to feel that the pattern continues, that the story is still unfolding. In time, this memory becomes yours, not just your heart's, but yours in the deeper sense. You associate it with safety, with being, with home. Perhaps that's why the term heartbeat is used for love, for moments, for belonging. Because deep down we understand that the beat is not just a sign of a life, it is its signature, and still, each contraction is new. Though built on memory, it is never repeated exactly. It is always slightly different, adjusting for need, for chemistry, for emotion. There is variability, and that variability is a sign of resilience. A healthy heart, after all, is not a perfect metronome. It is a musician, playing its theme with improvisation. It changes tempo with breath, with posture, with thought. It adapts. And in that adaptation, it stays alive. This, too, is part of muscle memory, the willingness to evolve without losing identity, the ability to remain yourself even as you change. And your heart shows you this beat by beat. Now, as you rest in the dim prelude of birth, your heart continues its rehearsal. It strengthens its walls. It fine-tunes its spiral. It expands its memory. Each pulse lays down a pattern that will serve you in every hour that follows, in waking, in sleeping, in running, in weeping. And you, though not yet fully conscious, begin to gather this rhythm like a lullaby you'll never forget. Not in your ears, but in your cells. Not in language, but in living. And the memory stretches even deeper, because this heart, this rhythm, this structure, it carries the echoes of hearts before you. Generations have shaped the muscle, shaped the rhythm, passed down the resilience. Your ancestors' strength echoes in the twist of the fibers. Their endurance hums in the mitochondria. Their courage, quiet and unspoken, glows in the patience of the beat. As the ventricles finish their contraction and the atria refill once more, the heart returns to its moment of waiting, not empty but full of readiness. The next spark gathers above, the next pattern prepares to unfold, and just as the fibers loosen and the calcium begins to drift back into its quiet stores, another voice emerges within the heart, not a sound but a signal, softer still and more mysterious, a whisper between cells. A whisper passes from one cell to the next, not a word, not a thought, but a presence. A gentle tap on the shoulder made of charged particles and openings too small to see. This is not the loud electrical command that ripples down the bundle of his, not the grand orchestration that drives the beat. This is something more intimate, a conversation, a meeting of neighbors across narrow bridges. Your heart cells speak in silence through tiny passageways called gap junctions, connecting one to the next like hands joined in a circle, energy passing from palm to palm. These are the true channels of trust, where ions drift, where rhythm is reinforced not by command, but by communion. Each cardiac cell is not isolated, not alone. Wrapped in its own membrane, yes, but within that membrane tiny doorways open to allow the movement of information. These gap junctions form at the intercalated discs where cells meet, where they touch not just physically but electrically. When one cell depolarizes, lets in the spark, it invites the next to do the same, not through force, but through openness. I am ready, it says. Are you with me? And the answer comes, always, in the form of response. One spark becomes two, then four, then a wave. The entire heart answers a call that began not in orders but in conversation. It is difficult to overstate the beauty of this, that a heart could move in perfect coordination not because a central system tells it to, but because every part listens to every other. This is not hierarchy, it is harmony. Each cell holds responsibility. Each cell contributes. The beat arises not from a single dictator but from a consensus, sparked by the node, yes, but carried and shaped by millions of small agreements. This is how you survive. This is how you thrive. In these conversations, ions are the words. Sodium, potassium, calcium, each with a role to play, each with a preference, a rhythm. Sodium rushes in at the start, flipping the charge across the cell membrane. Calcium follows, pouring through special channels, unlocking contraction. Potassium leaves, gently repolarizing, resetting the balance. It is a choreography of exchange, and these movements don't happen in isolation. They move together, shared across the tissues through junctions built for listening. The heart's language is not spoken, but it is deeply understood. And there's something even more miraculous in this quiet system. The messages are bidirectional. One cell affects the next, and the next affects the one before. It is not a one-way flow. If one part of the heart begins to falter, the surrounding cells adjust. If one signal weakens, others strengthen their own. There is resilience in redundancy. There is compassion in connection. No cell is abandoned. No rhythm is left to fail alone. The heart, even in its smallest units, knows the value of relationship. These conversations happen in microseconds, too fast for thought, too precise for intervention, and yet they hold space for flexibility. Your heart rate changes constantly. When you inhale, when you roll over in sleep, when you dream, when you sigh, it accelerates and decelerates, not in erratic stumbles, but in smooth waves. That variability is shaped by these cellular whispers. The gap junctions help your heart adjust to the moment, fine-tuning each contraction with a grace no machine could mimic. You're not a metronome. You're a living rhythm. And what happens when one cell is injured, when one signal falters? Remarkably, the others step in. They root around it. They adapt. This is not only survival, it is kindness written into biology. The heart has no ego, no need to place blame. It responds with care, with compensation, with continuity. This is the elegance of cardiac conduction, the blend of strength and softness, of muscle and message, of timing and tenderness. At a larger scale, these conversations define the heartbeat itself. Without gap junctions, without this network of cellular listening, the signal from the SA node would die in silence. The beat would fragment, lose its shape, break apart into asynchronous flickers. But with them, the spark travels freely, reliably, quickly enough to keep you alive, softly enough to let you rest. This is the paradox of the heart. It is fierce, but never forceful. And it all begins here, in these junctions no wider than a strand of silk. Through them, the cells share their status, charged or resting, ready or waiting. Through them, the rhythm propagates like a song hummed from one ear to another. No cell hoards its energy. No part of the heart sings solo for long. The entire organ is a choir, blending in real time, adjusting to the breath, the moment, the need. You may never feel this directly, and yet you are shaped by it. When your heart skips a beat, it is often a signal misfired, a message not quite passed. When it races, it is not just fear or effort. It is thousands of cells agreeing instantly to move faster. When it slows in stillness, that too is the result of conversation. There is comfort in this, if you let it reach you. The idea that every heartbeat is a collective act, that even inside you, even in your cells, there is unity. The silence between each beat now feels different. It is not a void. It is a space for message, for exchange. The pause is where the next signal prepares, where the next set of cells checks in with each other, confirming readiness. It is like a breath drawn before a sentence. It is like looking into someone's eyes before you speak. It is connection. And somewhere in the pauses, in the quiet adjustments of potassium flow and calcium storage, something ancient is being preserved. Not just life, but life that listens, life that does not isolate, life that grows stronger not by dominating, but by linking arms. As the next beat begins, and the wave moves outward from the node once more, those tiny channels open again. Sodium enters, potassium leaves, the charge reverses, and across the surface of each cell, a whisper travels, "I am ready. Are you?" And just as one cell answers the call, another prepares to take its turn, deep within a loop of vessels and branches now awakening to the growing breath of lungs, where something entirely new is about to begin. Deep within a loop of vessels and branches now awakening to the growing breath of lungs, a change is beginning to unfold. The heart, which once sent blood in simple tides through the developing body, now refines its pattern into something more elegant, more enduring. It begins to establish loops, not just a circle, but but a circle within a circle, the pulmonary circulation and the systemic circulation, two great rivers running their paths in perfect balance, each answering the other with a kind of mutual respect. Imagine for a moment this flow as a great figure eight, lying on its side, infinite and eternal. One loop sends blood from your right ventricle toward the lungs, where oxygen will one day be gathered. The other loop carries oxygen-rich blood from your left ventricle to the body, delivering nourishment, gathering waste, and returning home for renewal. Even in the womb, where your lungs are still quiet and folded like wings in sleep, the loops are forming. Shunts, temporary bridges, guide the blood away from the lungs for now, sending it instead through the foramen oval and the ductus arteriosus, special passages that exist only in these watery months. These shunts are nature's grace notes, shortcuts until you take your first breath, after which they will close forever, like secret doorways sealed with light. Yet even now, in this dark, gentle place before air, your heart is learning to listen, to flow, to adjust. It sends blood downward through the descending aorta, nourishing your legs, your kidneys, your growing intestines. Then it coils back through the umbilical arteries to the placenta, that sacred exchange point where your mother's blood brushes against yours without ever touching it. There, gases and nutrients are traded silently, as in a marketplace without voices, and the fresh supply is returned to you through the umbilical vein, winding upward to join your own rhythm once again. This loop is not just about transport, it's about information. Signals move within the blood. Oxygen levels, carbon dioxide levels, pH shifts, hormone whispers. Your vessels are not just pipes, they are sensors. The endothelium, the delicate lining of each blood vessel, feels the pressure of flow, responds to the chemical content of the blood it holds. It can dilate or constrict, send signals back to the heart. Slow down, speed up. We need more here. It is a feedback system, a communication network as complex as any symphony, and it begins before your first breath is drawn. The heart listens through receptors, baroreceptors and chemoreceptors, scattered like scouts along the aortic arch and carotid arteries. These tiny sensors detect stretch and chemistry, watching closely for shifts in pressure or gas content. When carbon dioxide rises, they alert the brain stem, which sends messages back through the autonomic nervous system. Tell the heart to beat faster. We need more oxygen, and so it does. When pressure rises too high, the baroreceptors step in. Ease off. Let the vessels relax. Let the beat soften. And so it does. Even in early life, these sensors are tuning themselves, calibrating the range within which your blood can safely and efficiently move. The loops respond with grace. In one moment, the pulmonary circuit widens ever so slightly, preparing for the day when lungs will inflate like lanterns. In another, the systemic loop strengthens its walls, learning to bear the weight of a growing body. Each loop has its own texture, its own challenge. The lungs offer resistance now, in this fluid-filled world, so the right side of the heart grows stronger, pushing blood through narrow paths. After birth, that balance will shift. The lungs will open, the resistance will fall, and the left side of the heart will rise to prominence, supporting the greater distances blood must travel. And this shift, this miraculous rebalancing, will happen in minutes. When the cord is cut and the lungs fill with air, pressure will drop in the pulmonary circuit. Blood will rush into those now open vessels. The foramen ovale will close as pressure in the left atrium rises. The ductus arteriosus will constrict, sealing its passage, The loops will separate fully, become distinct, complementary, forever joined yet never blending. But even now, the loops whisper to one another. The veins and arteries pulse not just with flow, but with feeling, changing their shape in response to emotion, body position, warmth, thought. If you're startled, your vessels constrict. If you're comforted, they widen. You feel this even now in the womb. When your mother sleeps deeply, your own heart slows. When she stirs or laughs or walks briskly, your circulation adjusts to meet the moment. This is the quiet brilliance of homeostasis, the ability to keep balance in a world that never stops changing. And the circulatory loops are its champions. They carry not only blood, but equilibrium. They move heat, hormones, immune cells, memories in chemical form. They allow each part of your body to know what the others are experiencing. If your feet feel cold, warm blood is sent. If your muscles grow weary, oxygen is delivered. The loop is intelligent, not in words, but in actions. It adapts in real time. The blood itself changes as it flows. Oxygen alters the shape of hemoglobin, turning it bright red. Carbon dioxide dissolves into plasma as bicarbonate, affecting the pH, the acid-base balance. Platelets drift silently, waiting for signs of injury. White blood cells patrol the borders, ready to respond to infection. All of this within the loop, within the rhythm, within you. Even the direction of flow matters. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Pressurized, elastic, muscular. Veins bring it back. Lower pressure, more relaxed, equipped with valves that prevent backflow, especially from the legs and arms. The system moves with intention, with architecture, with elegance. In time, as you grow and your lungs prepare for their first full breath, these loops will become more refined. The capillaries will multiply, spreading into every crevice of your body, so that no cell is more than a few micrometers from nourishment. The heart will beat faster in these final weeks, practicing the adjustments it will need to make in a colder, brighter world. Blood volume will increase, the muscle wall will thicken, the valves will tighten their fit. Still, the beat remains gentle. Still, the loops flow smoothly. Still, every movement is preparation for the moment the breath arrives, and with it, the switch. You will not feel it as dramatic. You will not remember the moment the foramen oval closes, or the ductus arteriosus tightens like a door latching shut. But your body will know, your heart will know. The loop within the loop will shift its shape, and in doing so it will say, "Welcome to the air, welcome to the light, but not yet, not yet." For now the rhythm continues. The blood flows in curves and spirals. The valves open, then close with a whisper. The heart rests between beats, then rises again. The conversations among cells go on. The current is faithful. The memory endures. And far beyond the heart, in the tiny branches reaching toward your future lungs, something begins to open, softly, unseen. A readiness, a widening, a quiet reply to a rhythm it has never yet met. And in the branches that reach toward your future lungs, the widening continues. But it is not just the vessels that prepare. It is the dialogue between systems that begins to deepen. The heart, once a solitary rhythm, begins to listen to something more subtle, more remote, the gentle voice of the brain. And though it beats with autonomy, though it holds its own memory and signal within its walls, your heart is not deaf to influence. It listens sometimes, not always, but sometimes, especially when the message comes not as a command but as a feeling. This conversation unfolds through the autonomic nervous system, a web of nerve fibers that begins to thread its way from the spinal cord and brainstem down into the soft tissue of the heart. These fibers do not bring thoughts or logic. They do not ask questions or seek answers. They bring sensation. They bring modulation. They bring the presence of the outside world into the private cadence of the chest. In these final weeks before birth, as your body practices all the forms it will soon need, sucking, stretching, blinking, grasping, your nervous system is quietly learning how to speak to your heart, and more importantly, how to listen. The autonomic nervous system has two halves. One is the sympathetic, fast and bright, like fire on dry grass. The other is the parasympathetic, cool and soft, like moss after rain. The sympathetic fibers, when activated, quicken the heart. They pour adrenaline and noradrenaline into the space between neuron and muscle, urging the beat to rise. They do this when there's danger, when effort is needed, when life demands more. The parasympathetic fibers, led by the vagus nerve, do the opposite. They slow the beat, soften the rhythm, deepen the pause between contractions. They step in when the world calms down, when sleep gathers, when the body turns inward to restore. The heart does not obey either blindly. It listens, it weighs, it responds with nuance. And always it continues its own signal from the sinoatrial node, steady and faithful, unless the message from the brain is compelling enough to adjust. This is the brilliance of the design. Autonomy balanced with connection. Independence tempered by collaboration. The heart is not a puppet. It is a partner. In the womb, as your lungs grow heavier with promise, the nerves reaching into your heart become more intricate. They begin to form plexuses, small interwoven webs of fibers that wrap around the nodes and vessels, sensing pressure and stretch, altering pace. These fibers will never ask you if you're scared. They will never speak your name. But when you're startled one day, by sound, by movement, by thought, they will know, and your heart will feel it immediately. Your pulse will leap, not from fear itself, but from the nervous system's decision to protect you. This is what the sympathetic system was built for, to prepare you for action, for survival, for swift response. But there's another kind of protection, one that comes not in quickness, but in quiet. The parasympathetic system, especially the vagus nerve, brings slowness, brings depth. It is the keeper of rest, of digestion, of stillness, and its influence over the heart is profound. Through the vagus, the brain can tell the heart, you're safe. You can slow down now. And the heart listens. It softens its contractions. It lengthens the space between beats. It enters the sacred rhythm of rest. Later in life, you will feel this rhythm when you're held by someone who loves you, when you sit quietly beneath trees, when you lie beside water and feel yourself dissolve into its hush. In those moments, the vagus is active, and your heart, tuned to its signal, slows, not because it must, but because it can, because safety allows softness. Even now, in the womb, these systems are beginning to find each other. The brainstem, with its primitive centers, sends gentle pulses through the spinal cord. The fibers reach outward, downward, forward, threading their way to the heart like messengers bearing news from the head. The communication is still developing, still fragile, but it's there, and the heart receives it. Not always obediently, not always immediately, but it hears. This relationship between brain and heart is delicate. It must remain a conversation, not a dictatorship. If the brain shouts too loudly, the heart resists. If the heart stiffens too much, the brain cannot calm it. Balance is everything, and the body learns this balance early. Even before birth, it rehearses the seesaw between activity and ease, effort and surrender. This balance is called autonomic tone, and it is different for everyone. Some people are born with more sympathetic drive, more energy, more readiness to move. Others lean parasympathetic, calmer, slower, more inward. Neither is better. Both are necessary. The art is in the dance between them. The beat you feel now, steady and growing more complex, reflects that dance. It quickens when your mother moves. It slows when she rests. It changes when her emotions shift. Because her hormones, her nervous system, her very breath, all ripple into yours. Through the placenta, her body speaks to yours. Through the shared bloodstream, the quiet chemicals of mood become messages, and your heart, already tuned to listen, adjusts accordingly. Later, you will carry that sensitivity with you. You'll feel it in your chest when someone walks into the room. You'll sense tension before words are spoken. Your heart, trained early in responsiveness, will remain alert, and if you nurture it, it will not only respond to others, it will help calm them. Because the heart's rhythm is contagious. Through breath, through eye contact, through presence, your calm heart can calm another. This is co-regulation, and it is part of what makes us human. But that power begins here, in these early weeks, as your heart learns when to listen and when to lead, when to yield and when to assert its own tempo. The brain offers suggestions, the heart weighs them. Sometimes it says yes, sometimes it says not now. This is the foundation of emotional intelligence, not in thoughts, but in rhythms, in the spaces between beats, in the ability to hear what is not spoken. Now, as the fibers complete their circuits and the vagus nerve stretches farther down, wrapping its quiet presence around your forming gut, your diaphragm, your lungs, the heart senses that a new level of dialogue is about to begin. The air has not yet entered your lungs, but the conversation is ready. The heart is ready. And with every breath your mother takes, your body feels the swell and release. Your diaphragm responds. The pressure inside your thoracic cavity shifts ever so slightly. And the heart begins to notice a rhythm beyond its own. A slow tidal swell that it cannot control, but will soon learn to follow. This rhythm, the rhythm of breath, will change everything. Already the beat begins to shift, imperceptibly with these rising signals. The space between beats lengthens, then shortens. The heart adjusts, it listens, and just as the lungs begin their final preparations, alveoli multiplying, surfactant thickening, blood vessels blooming toward the surface, a new pulse is forming, one that waits not within the chest but just above it. A new pulse is forming, not within the chest, but just above it, soft and slow like the shadow of a wave before the tide rolls in. It is the rhythm of night, of sleep, of the silent turning inward. Your heart begins to feel it first, in the quiet between surges, as your body follows your mother's cycles, drifting into deeper stillness when she rests, and stirring slightly when her world stirs. You don't yet sleep as she does, not in dreams layered with memory or meaning, but you already enter something like it, a slowing, a gathering inward, where the beat no longer races to build, but slows to sustain. This is the rhythm of rest, of cellular maintenance, of soft recalibration. The tempo of your heartbeat at night is not just slower, it is wiser. It becomes efficient, generous, rhythmic. in a way that feels more like a rocking boat than a drum. The parasympathetic system, led once again by the long and faithful vagus nerve, takes quiet control during these hours. It doesn't shout, it breathes. It touches the sinoatrial node like a hand laid gently on the shoulder, saying, "No hurry now, just glide." As this vagal tone deepens during rest, your heart does something astonishing. It becomes variable, beautifully so. This may seem strange because we often think of steadiness as perfection, but in truth, a perfectly metronomic heartbeat is not ideal. Life is not rigid. Life breathes, and a healthy heart reflects that. As you begin to dip into cycles of fetal rest, periods of stillness, of lowered oxygen demand, of whispered hormonal shifts, your heart begins to show heart rate variability, or HRV. This is the sign of adaptability, of subtle awareness. With each slow inhale you practice, your beat may rise a touch. With each exhale, it may fall. The variation is tiny, almost imperceptible, but it is there, and it is beautiful. This gentle modulation is the sound of your body learning to listen to itself. You're not yet born, and yet your nervous system is testing its balance. Your vagus nerve strengthens its influence with each quiet breath. Your heart begins to trust the pauses between beats. These aren't just gaps, they're places of transformation, places where repair begins, where proteins fold correctly, where ions reset, where your whole rhythm breathes in its own kind of silence. Night, even within the womb, is not simply the absence of light. It is a phase of internal conversation. Your cortisol levels drop. Melatonin, passed from your mother, rises, slipping into your system like a dark velvet ribbon. This hormone does more than prepare you for sleep. It begins to teach your cells about time, about circadian rhythm, that great invisible clock nested in the brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus. You won't rely on it fully until you're born, until light hits your closed eyelids and resets your pineal gland with the day-night cycle of this world. But already, the hints are here. Already the body is aligning itself with the ebb and flow of the hours, and the heart responds. When you enter one of these early rest phases, it does not simply idle. It becomes meditative. The ventricles pump with less force, conserving energy. The atria ease into their contractions. Blood still flows. Oxygen still reaches the farthest corners of your forming limbs, but with a kind of grace, no longer a march, but a drift. The heart in rest is no less alive. If anything, it becomes more precise. It does not waste. It preserves. Sleep, or the early patterns of it, also triggers waves of cleansing. Your glymphatic system, still forming, begins its gentle rehearsal. Waste products clear. Neurons, even now forming connections, pause to prune unnecessary links. And your heart hums beneath it all, a steady undercurrent of calm, as if rocking the cradle from within. This nocturnal patterning will follow you through life. As you age, your heart will slow in the quiet hours, preparing your body for recovery. You will heal best while sleeping. You will grow best while sleeping, and your heart will never forget how to lead you there. It will remember the first times it slowed for rest, deep in the watery silence of the womb. Later, you will associate this rhythm with comfort. You will feel it in quiet rooms, in soft music, in the weight of a heavy blanket. Your body will remember the way your heart slows, not in surrender, but in wisdom. In fact, some of the most profound decisions your body makes, how to restore, how to conserve, how to heal, are made when your heart is in this resting rhythm. This is why infants, and even adults, instinctively seek rhythm to fall asleep. A rocking chair, a heartbeat against a parent's chest, the low drum of rain. These are not just comforting sounds. They are invitations for the heart to ease, for the breath to deepen, for the brain to let go. The sinus rhythm, your natural heartbeat pattern, now begins to establish its nighttime signature. The sinoatrial node still pulses, still leads, but it does so under the gentle guidance of parasympathetic influence. If you were to graph it now, tiny though your heart remains, you would see the widening of intervals, the slow, strong rhythm that suggests not weakness, but trust. Trust in what? In continuity, in balance, in the idea that you don't need to move fast to survive, that sometimes the greatest strength lies in knowing how to slow down without losing your way. And yet, even as your body eases into these cycles, the preparation for awakening is never fully paused. At any moment, if needed, the sympathetic system can return. The adrenal glands can flicker. The heart can rise to meet the moment. This is part of the elegance. Rest is not collapse. It is readiness wrapped in softness. It is the art of active stillness. The vagus nerve, your lifelong guide into rest, wraps itself more deeply into the tissues of your thorax now, tracing the outline of the esophagus, the lungs, the pericardium. It is not just a nerve. It is a thread that connects sensation, emotion, breath, digestion, and pulse. And during the quiet of your first night rhythms, it hums like a cello beneath the melody of your heartbeat, grounding you in a tempo you do not yet need to understand in order to feel. And so the hours pass, uncounted, unhurried. Your heart practices the duality of its task, to lead and to listen, to quicken and to quiet. It is shaping the very concept of rhythm within you, not just biological but spiritual, the rhythm of rise and rest, the rhythm of knowing when to give and when to receive. Eventually you will breathe air, you will wake and sleep to light and dark, you will learn days, weeks, seasons. But even before all of that, here in the calm, warm ocean of your becoming, your heart is already a keeper of time. It is already preparing you for the lull of nighttime, for the ebb of breath, for the sacred slowness that holds you in the deepest healing. Now, just as your chest rises with a gentle practice breath, and your fingers curl without command, a signal travels, not from brain to heart, but from lungs to vessels, a message written in stretch, in need, in opening, a message written in stretch, in need, in opening, whispers upward through the vessels as your lungs prepare their quiet revolution. They are still filled with fluid, still dreaming of air, but they begin to communicate in their own language of pressure and expansion that a threshold is near, a change is coming, and your heart, ever responsive, begins to ready itself, not just for strength, but for resilience. For though it is one of the most tireless muscles in the body, the heart is not invincible. It can break, but more profoundly, it can heal. You're still cradled in a womb of near perfection, where oxygen arrives through gentle tides, where pressure is managed by your mother's body, and nothing yet demands that you gasp, that you cry, that you act. But already your heart is learning how to respond when things shift, when the rhythm stumbles, when the balance tips. Because even before birth, things do not always go as planned. A sudden dip in oxygen, a momentary arrhythmia, a surge in pressure. The heart encounters these and must adapt. And adapt it does. At the center of this adaptation is the heart's incredible plasticity, its ability to respond, not just electrically, but structurally, chemically, emotionally. In the face of stress, the heart doesn't collapse, it remodels. If a portion of the muscle is injured, surrounding fibers take on more work. If the flow falters, compensatory mechanisms activate, shifting blood, releasing hormones, tightening vessels. It is a system built not for perfection, but for survival, for learning, for repair. This is a truth you will carry with you for your entire life. The heart remembers injury, but it also remembers how to recover. When something disrupts the rhythm, a skipped beat, a signal that fails to pass cleanly, the heart may flutter, stutter, race. These are called arrhythmias, and they are the music of a system momentarily unsure, sometimes harmless, sometimes dangerous, always meaningful. Even in fetal life, these patterns may appear. A premature contraction here, a pause there, and yet most of the time, the heart finds its way back. It listens, adjusts, resynchronizes. The sinoatrial node reasserts itself. The pathway's clear, the song returns. This capacity to reset is not just mechanical, it is chemical too. Your heart carries within it repair systems, molecules like nitric oxide that signal vessels to relax, growth factors that call in new cells to rebuild tissue, enzymes that clean away damage. When stressed, the heart releases BNP, brain natriuretic peptide, not because it belongs to the brain, but because it acts as if it does, regulating fluid, pressure, rhythm, thought. The heart in these moments is both organ and oracle. It reads your internal environment and responds with precision. But healing doesn't always mean returning to what was. Sometimes the heart lays down scar. Sometimes the rhythm it returns to is not the same. This is true after illness, after birth complications, after emotional pain. The heart, like the self, carries the marks of what it endures. The left ventricle may thicken from years of labour. The valves may calcify with time. The electrical pathways may shift. And yet, even when changed, the heart keeps going. There is a term, cardiac remodeling, used to describe the way the heart changes shape in response to injury or increased demand. But you might think of it more poetically. Remodeling, after all, implies artistry. It suggests not only repair, but reinvention. A home made safer. A space made livable after a storm. The heart, when given time and support, does this too. It does not aim to be what it was. It aims to be what is needed now. And the signals for this healing begin early. In your fetal days, your heart is surrounded by progenitor cells, immature cells with the potential to become anything. A muscle fibre, a blood vessel, even a repair crew in disguise. Some remain in the heart even after birth, dormant but ready, like seeds waiting for rain. In times of injury, these cells can awaken, divide, migrate, restore. But healing is not only physical. As you grow, you'll discover that your heart responds to emotion as well as chemistry. The language of sadness, of heartbreak, of joy, these are not abstract concepts. They leave measurable traces. Emotional pain, when deep, can mimic the patterns of a heart attack. Elevated enzymes, altered rhythms, sharp chest aches. This is called stress cardiomyopathy, or more poetically, broken heart syndrome. It is real, and it is reversible, because the heart, again and again, returns to healing. It does so with rhythm, with rest, with quiet, with time. In moments of stillness, when you're not pushing forward but gently falling back into breath, the heart finds its most profound healing. The parasympathetic nervous system engages, the vagus hums, the blood flows smoothly, inflammation lessens, repair begins. In this way, healing is not an event, but a rhythm of its own. And just as your fetal heart now practices slowing during rest, practicing not only beating but pausing, it is learning the shape of recovery, the importance of the in-between, the value of spaces where nothing dramatic happens, and yet everything is restored. Later in life, when grief visits you, as it surely will, you may place your hand over your chest and wonder why it hurts, why it feels like something has ruptured, even when no muscle has torn. But it will be your heart remembering the rhythm that was shared with another. It will be your body speaking in the only way it knows, through pulse, through pressure, through sensation. And eventually, as the weeks unfold, you will feel the rhythm begin to change again. The sharpness will dull, the pressure will ease, the beat will find its new pattern. Not the same, but steady. This is how the heart heals, not by forgetting, but by adapting. Even now, in your most delicate state of becoming, the signals of resilience are everywhere. Each skipped beat corrected, each vessel learning to flex and return, each cell prepared to repair before the damage ever begins. And so the heart waits, strong and vulnerable all at once, holding within its four chambers not just blood, but memory, story, possibility. Now, just as one contraction finishes and the valves close in perfect unison, the heart feels a pull, not from within, but from beyond the body, a rhythm that is not yours alone, a signal that does not arrive by nerve or vessel, but by presence, a signal that does not arrive by nerve or vessel, but by presence, by a shared breath, a shared pulse, as if the world itself leans closer to whisper, "You are not the only one," and truly, you are not. All around you, even before you are born, the air you have not yet tasted is stirred by other hearts. Outside the quiet hush of your mother's womb, beneath trees and across oceans, in nests and dens and open plains, other creatures carry their own inner drummers. Their hearts, too, beat without pause. Their pulses tell their own stories. And in their rhythms, you are connected, not just to your species, but to the wider world. If you could listen now, not with ears, but with some deeper sense, you would hear them. Thousands of pulses echoing through the earth's cradle. A whale far out in the sea moves with a heart so massive, its beat echoes only 5 or 6 times a minute. Slow, sovereign. Every contraction of its muscle moves hundreds of gallons of blood, and yet, for all its power, its rhythm is calm, measured, like thunder rolling through deep water. This is what it means to have size and serenity entwined. Far away in a field, a rabbit's heart races. 200, sometimes even 300 beats per minute. It quivers with aliveness, with readiness, with the knowledge that every moment might call for flight. The beat is quick, but not panicked. It is natural for the small, for the preyed upon, for those who must know escape before they know peace. And yet, even in that rapid rhythm, there is grace, there is pattern, there is balance. And what of birds? A hummingbird, impossibly tiny and fiercely alive, holds within its chest a heart that can beat over 1,000 times each minute. When in motion, it is pure blur. But in rest, deep, cold rest, it slows nearly to a stop. Hummingbirds practice a kind of voluntary suspension, called torpor, a near sleep so profound the body cools, the metabolism drops, and the heart beats only a few times an hour. They know the secret of extremes, that movement and stillness can live within the same body. All these creatures and more carry within them the same contract that pulses inside you now. To keep moving, to adjust, to endure. From the turtle who slumbers beneath a frozen pond, heart slowing to almost nothing, to the shrew whose tiny pulse thrums like wings even while it sleeps, Each animal's heart has its own tempo, shaped by its needs, its risks, its size. And yet, structurally, they are all so similar. Chambers, valves, muscle, signal. The variations are small, the unity profound. Your own heart shares this design because it is not new. It is ancient, refined through time. The four-chambered heart you now possess is an evolutionary gift. A structure so efficient, so precise, it emerged not once but many times across lineages. Birds as mammals both evolved it, not because they are close cousins, but because the design is simply that good. Separate circuits for oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, efficient loops, a rhythm guided by internal cues, able to respond to the world. Even fish, whose hearts beat in two chambers, follow the same principle. Blood in, blood out, pulse, rest. Simplicity serving the life it supports. Reptiles and amphibians with three chambers split the difference, adapting their rhythms to water, to land, to sun. And beneath it all, regardless of form, beats the same truth. Life must move, and that movement requires rhythm. You, here, floating between worlds, are part of this lineage. When you are born, you will meet dogs whose hearts quicken with yours. You will watch cats whose bodies still in sleep while their chests rise and fall with feline calm. You will learn about the pulsing life of insects, of elephants, of bats. You will see that even the tiniest creature has a heartbeat, or something like it. Something that keeps the flow alive. And when you hold another living thing, when a small bird rests in your hands, or a kitten presses against your chest, you will feel it. That distant cousin of a rhythm speaking to yours, fast perhaps, or slow, but always speaking. You may never study zoology. You may never recite the charts of heart rates or vascular pathways of various species, but you will know, by feel, what life sounds like in the language of pulse. You will know that fear makes the beat rise, that safety slows it, that hunger and love and shelter and stillness all write their messages in pressure and pace. The animals know this, and somewhere in you, you do too. Later, as your heart grows, you will begin to wonder at its flexibility, how it can match the beat of music, how it adjusts when you watch someone dance, how it calms when you stroke a sleeping pet. This is entrainment, the body's natural ability to synchronize with outside rhythm, and it too is shared across the kingdom. Horses standing side by side can sync their heart rates. Birds flying in formation share more than just wing beats. The heart listens, not only to the brain but to the world, and in that listening is wisdom. Here, still in the quiet dark of before birth, you already carry that wisdom. You're not alone in your heartbeat. You are part of a vast living chorus. Each beat, each contraction, each rise of pressure is a line in a poem shared by whales, foxes, frogs, and you. Different tempos, same truth. And perhaps, though your cells cannot name it, you feel comforted by this, that your heartbeat, so new, so tentative, belongs not just to you, but to something older, something shared. Now, as you drift again into a resting rhythm, your body gently rocked by your mother's breathing, another rhythm begins to form, not from evolution or biology, but from feeling, something more subtle than instinct, more tender than reflex. It is the rhythm of connection, and the heart is about to learn its emotional voice. It is the rhythm of connection, and the heart is about to learn its emotional voice. Before you have words, before you can name your feelings, your heart already knows how to respond to them. It feels their echo, not through thought but through pulse, through chemistry. through the subtle shifts in its own rhythm. The heart and emotions are entwined, forever dancing in an intimate embrace, a dance that begins even before birth and follows you through every breath you take. The language of emotions in the heart is not spoken but sung in electric waves and chemical cascades. When you feel joy, your heart responds with a slight quickening, a smoothness in the beat that reflects openness and energy. When fear or anxiety presses on you, the heart accelerates more sharply, pulses pounding like drums announcing alarm. Sadness brings a slower, heavier rhythm, weighted as if by invisible hands pressing gently down on the chest. Anger can tighten the rhythm, increasing pressure, heightening tension. Love, perhaps the most profound of all, shapes the heart's beat in ways both complex and beautiful, bringing warmth and steadiness, deepening connection. At the core of these changes are your autonomic nervous system and the hormones it releases. When your mind perceives danger, the sympathetic system floods the bloodstream with adrenaline and noradrenaline, chemicals that signal the heart to quicken, to pump stronger, preparing the body for flight or fight. These hormones raise blood pressure, increase cardiac output, sharpen focus. Your heart is responding to the intangible, an unseen threat or a sudden rush of excitement, with a very tangible surge. Conversely, the parasympathetic system, through the vagus nerve, can slow your heart, promote calm, and bring you back to safety. This system is engaged when you feel secure, when you are held, when you breathe deeply and slowly. It supports rest, digestion, healing. It teaches the heart to trust the world again after moments of stress. The dance between these systems is ongoing, sometimes rapid, sometimes gentle, but always present. But this isn't simply biology. It's poetry written in pulse. The heart doesn't just react, it resonates. It reflects the quality of your experience. It mirrors your relationships, your joys and fears, your sense of self. When you're close to someone who loves you, your heartbeats may synchronize, their rhythms tuning like strings on a harp. In moments of shared calm, even strangers' heart rates can align. This phenomenon, called physiological synchrony, is a form of nonverbal communication that deepens connection without words. Your earliest experiences in the womb set the stage for this. Your heart already responds to the rhythms of your mother's voice, her heartbeat, her breath. You learn to recognize her presence in the pulse of her circulation, the fluctuations of her hormones. You're immersed in an emotional environment even before birth, and your heart learns that rhythm and feeling are inseparable. Later in life, you'll find that emotions can shape not only how fast or slow your heart beats, but how well it beats. Chronic stress and sadness can strain your heart, affecting blood pressure and heart rate variability, these subtle shifts in timing that reflect flexibility and health. Conversely, joy and love can strengthen your heart's resilience, improve circulation, and even protect against disease. The connection between heart and emotion is not metaphor alone. It is medicine. Your heart is also central to what some call the heart-brain connection. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart, influencing how you feel, how you think, how you perceive the world. It affects attention, memory, and emotional regulation. When your heart rhythm is smooth and coherent, your brain follows, finding clarity and calm. When your heart is erratic, your mind may become scattered or anxious. The two are partners in a continuous feedback loop. This loop is part of what makes human experience so rich and so delicate. Your feelings are not confined to your mind. They live in your chest, in your pulse, in the very way your blood moves through you. This is why, when you are frightened, your heart races and your breath shortens. This is why, when you're joyful, your chest feels light, as if it might lift you. These sensations are not mere metaphors. They are real. Your body lives your emotions. Even now, in the safe darkness before birth, your heart responds to your mother's emotional world. When she is calm, your pulse slows. When she's excited or worried, your heartbeat quickens in kind. You're already learning that love and safety go hand in hand with steady rhythms, that fear's quickening can be soothed by touch, by warmth, by presence. Your heart is a teacher of these lessons, long before you can understand them with words. In the quiet moments ahead, as your body continues to grow, your heart will become more adept at this dance. It will learn to read your moods not only through nerves, but through hormones. Oxytocin when you connect, cortisol when you stress, serotonin when you rest. Each chemical messenger influences the tempo and strength of your pulse. Your heart will be a living reflection of your inner world, and so you carry within you, from the very beginning, a heart that is not merely a pump but a partner in your emotional life. A heart that beats with the rhythm of connection, of love, of fear, of joy. A heart that is the first instrument to sing your story. Now, as your heartbeat continues its gentle song, a new current stirs, not just in your chest, but in the very space where life begins. A whisper of shared rhythm between you and the one who carries you. A lullaby of connection that will follow you long after you open your eyes to the world, and a lullaby of connection that will follow you long after you open your eyes to the world. But for now, all remains tender, still, a gentle prelude before the crescendo. Until that moment arrives, the moment of your first breath. It is the greatest transition you will ever experience, the moment when the world calls to you, and you respond not with words, but with life itself. And in that first breath, your heart will change in ways profound forever. Inside the womb, your lungs have slumbered beneath a veil of liquid, their alveoli closed, their vessels constricted, their purpose held in quiet waiting. The blood coursing through your heart has bypassed these sleeping organs through shunts that are bridges and shortcuts, pathways that will soon close as you breathe air for the first time. Your heart has worked tirelessly to pump blood through this delicate balance of circuits, but it awaits the moment when everything shifts, the day when oxygen comes not from your mother's placenta, but from the air around you. The first breath is a miracle of physics and biology. It begins with a cry, a gasp of air rushing in to fill lungs that have never known it. This breath expands the alveoli, opens the tiny sacs, and sends a surge of oxygen into your blood. The pulmonary vessels, once tight and constricted, dilate in response. Resistance falls sharply, pressure shifts. Your right ventricle, which has laboured against a high-pressure system, suddenly finds a new, low-resistance path. The foramen oval, a flap-like opening between the atria, closes as pressure builds in the left atrium. The ductus arteriosus, a vessel connecting the pulmonary artery to the aorta, constricts and seals. Two loops, once blended, now separate fully. Your heart responds instantly, with grace and precision. The right side, relieved of its burden, adapts to the new circuit, pumping blood freshly oxygenated to your lungs. The left side grows stronger, sending oxygen-rich blood to every cell in your body. The rhythm you've known since your earliest days adjusts to this new pattern. The beat deepens, the pulses gain strength, the valves seal tightly in time. This transformation is more than mechanical. It is symbolic. The first act of independence. The first moment you truly inhabit the world outside. Your breath is no longer shared. It is yours alone. Your heartbeat is no longer a signal nested inside another's body. It is yours to carry. And in this moment, your heart becomes a conductor not only of blood, but of your life's symphony. But the shift is delicate. Your body, though prepared, is still fragile. The heart must navigate new pressures, new flows, new demands. Sometimes the transition is smooth, a seamless glide into air and light. Other times it is turbulent, a struggle for oxygen, a faltering beat, a challenge for balance. This is why the first hours and days after birth are so critical, why the pulse must be monitored, why the breath must be watched. And yet, even in challenge, your heart shows its resilience. It learns quickly, adapting with every beat, every breath. The cellular conversations you practiced in the womb, the electrical waves, the chemical signals, the muscle memories, are now deployed with fierce intent. The ion channels open and close with new urgency. The pacemaker cells fire with new authority. The cardiac muscle fibers contract with renewed strength. This transition will shape your life's rhythm, but it will not define it. Your heart will continue to adapt, to growth, to movement, to emotion. It will learn the dance of physical activity and rest. It will learn the rhythms of sleep and wakefulness. It will respond to love and fear, joy and sorrow. But this first breath, this new beat, is the foundation. Your body will remember it, even when your mind cannot. It will mark the beginning of independence, the shift from reliance to selfhood. And though you cannot yet comprehend it, your heart beats now with the wisdom of change, holding within itself the memory of the past and the promise of the future. Now, as the first breath settles into the second, and the second into the third, your heart continues to carry you forward. The rhythm unfolds, steady and true, a song both ancient and new. The loops flow in their perfected paths, the valves click in their precise timing, the muscle contract with strength and grace. And beyond the beat, beyond the breath, a new kind of rhythm begins, one shaped by your waking senses, your emerging thoughts, your growing self. The rhythm of experience, of discovery, of becoming. But for now, in this tender beginning, your heart beats quietly, listening for the next call, the next signal, the next wave to carry you onward. Your heart beats quietly, listening for the next call, the next signal, the next wave to carry you onward. For now, your life unfolds in small measured steps, each breath a promise, each beat a testament to resilience. The rhythm of your heart is no longer just survival, it is growth, it is change, it is the gentle pulse of becoming. As days turn to weeks, your heart learns to adapt to the new demands of the world. Your body grows larger, your limbs stretch toward light and touch, your senses awaken. With each movement, each cry, each lullaby, your heart adjusts its tempo, its strength, its character. It becomes not only a pump, but a mirror of your experience, a vessel of your story. Growth itself is a rhythm. It is a cycle of expansion and repair, of rest and activity, of building and refining. Your heart embraces this cycle intimately. Its muscle thickens, its valves grow stronger, its electrical pathways become more complex and precise. The tiny progenitor cells nestled in your heart awaken and multiply, helping shape new tissue to meet the increasing demand. Your mitochondria multiply like lanterns in the dark, fueling this relentless work. Yet growth is not always smooth. There are moments of strain, moments when the beat stumbles under pressure, when the rhythm shifts unexpectedly. Your heart, however, is built to meet these challenges. It listens deeply, adjusts gently, and if given care and rest, heals gracefully. It holds within itself the blueprint for resilience, learned first in the quiet darkness of your earliest days. Your autonomic nervous system continues its delicate dance with the heart. The sympathetic system pulses with bursts of energy when you explore and learn, pushing your heart rate higher in bursts of excitement or stress. The parasympathetic system, like a patient guide, draws your rhythm back to calm with gentle hand and soothing breath. This balance of push and pull shapes not only your heart but your growing mind and spirit. In these early years, your heart is a teacher of patience and presence. It shows you that strength is not only in rapid beats or loud pulses, but also in the spaces between, the rests, the pauses, the moments when nothing seems to happen, but everything is unfolding beneath the surface. These quiet moments allow repair, learning, and growth. And beyond the mechanics of muscle and nerve, your heart continues to carry your emotions, your connections, your emerging self. The rhythms of love, comfort, fear, and joy play out in the beating of your chest, teaching you early on that life is a symphony of feelings, each pulse a note in a vast and unfolding song. As you grow, you will come to understand this rhythm more deeply, not through words, but through sensation and presence. You will feel your heart race with excitement, slow with relief, flutter with nervousness, and steady with peace. This ongoing dialogue between your heart and your world is the foundation of your well-being. Your heart's memory grows too, shaped by your experiences. Each beat records not only the present moment, but echoes of the past, the imprint of every touch, every heartbeat you have felt in the arms of those who love you. This memory shapes your body's responses, teaching your heart how to trust, how to anticipate, how to find safety even amid uncertainty. And as your body stretches toward the future, so too does your heart's rhythm expand, becoming capable of the vast ranges of feeling and function that life demands. It learns to dance to music, to calm to lullabies, to rise in the thrill of discovery, and to rest in the peace of deep sleep. The heartbeat is no longer simply a sign of life. It is life's cadence, the drum of your becoming. It holds within itself the legacy of your ancestors, the pulse of your species, the promise of your future. Now, as your breath deepens, as your limbs begin to move with purpose and your eyes open wide to the world's light and shadow, your heart carries you forward, steady, strong, and full of rhythm. It waits not for perfection, but for persistence. It beats not just to survive, but to thrive. And just as the sun begins to rise outside the window, casting its first gentle light across your crib, another wave begins to stir. This one not inside your body, but between you and the world you're ready to meet. And another wave begins to stir. This one not inside your body, but between you and the world you are ready to meet. Your heart, steady and full of rhythm, feels the tender pull of connection, a force that is invisible, yet undeniable. From your first breath, your pulse is not only your own, it is woven into the lives around you, a silent conversation with the beating hearts of family, friends, and even strangers. This pulse of connection is the rhythm of belonging, Your heart carries the echo of every touch you've ever felt. The warmth of your mother's hand against your skin, the gentle sway of her arms as she cradles you, the soft murmur of her voice. These experiences are etched deep within your being, woven into the fabric of your heart's memory. The physical closeness, the eye contact, the quiet moments, all send signals to your nervous system, teaching your heart how to dance with others. When you hold someone's hand, your heartbeats can synchronize, like two musicians tuning to the same key. This phenomenon, known as physiological synchrony, creates a shared rhythm that fosters trust and safety. Your body feels this connection even before your mind understands it, responding instinctively to the rhythms of those you love. The pulse of connection is a language older than words, spoken through the beat of hearts aligning in gentle harmony. This connection extends beyond those closest to you. In groups, whether a family gathering or a room full of strangers, heart rates and breathing patterns often subtly align, creating an unspoken sense of unity. This synchrony can calm anxiety, deepen empathy, and promote healing. It is a reminder that your heart is not an isolated drum but part of a vast orchestra, playing a collective melody. From the earliest days, your heart learns to respond not only to internal cues, but to the rhythms of others. The rise and fall of a caregiver's voice, the cadence of footsteps, the tempo of laughter, all influence your heartbeat, tuning it to the social world. This interplay is fundamental to human connection, shaping your ability to form bonds, to feel empathy, and to communicate without words. Your heart's pulse becomes a bridge, connecting your inner world to the outer one. It reflects your emotional state and, in turn, influences the emotions of those around you. A calm, steady heartbeat can soothe a crying child. A racing pulse can spark excitement or alarm in others. This dynamic exchange is part of the human experience, an intimate dance of vulnerability and strength. As you grow, you will discover that your heart's rhythms shift in response to relationships. The flutter of first love, the ache of loss, the warmth of friendship, all leave their imprint on your heartbeat. These emotional rhythms shape your health, your resilience, and your capacity for joy. They remind you that connection is not just social but biological, rooted in the very beat that sustains you. Even now, as your body grows and your senses awaken, your heart pulses with the memory of these early connections. It holds the imprint of love and safety, preparing you to seek them in the wider world. Your heartbeat is both a signal and a beacon, guiding you toward relationships that nurture and sustain you. The pulse of connection also teaches you about vulnerability. To synchronize with another heart is to open yourself, to share a rhythm that is uniquely yours yet part of something greater. This openness requires trust, the trust that your beat will be met with kindness, that your rhythm will be held with care. In this trust lies the foundation of intimacy and community. Your heart's capacity for connection is a source of profound strength. It enables you to feel deeply, to heal from pain, and to celebrate joy with others. It reminds you that life is not lived in isolation but in the shared rhythms of hearts beating together. As the light of day filters softly through the window, casting gentle patterns across your crib, your heart continues its silent conversation with the world. It listens, responds, and reaches out, always open to the next pulse, the next touch, the next breath of connection. And just as you begin to stir from your quiet rest, feeling the world around you shift and bloom, your heart senses a new rhythm, a rhythm not just of connection, but of discovery, of movement, of the unfolding journey that waits. And your heart senses a new rhythm, a rhythm not just of connection, but of discovery, of movement, of the unfolding journey that awaits. The world outside your cradle calls to you with whispers and light, with touch and sound, inviting your heart to beat not only for survival or comfort, but for adventure. Each beat is a step on a path that stretches out before you, a journey measured in 1,000 heartbeats, each one carrying you deeper into the life that is uniquely yours. From the very first breath, your heart has carried you through change and challenge, through rest and motion, through connection and solitude. But this journey is not a straight line. It is a winding river, full of currents and eddies, of quiet pools and rushing falls. Your heart learns to navigate this river with grace, adapting its rhythm to the shifting demands of growth, emotion, and experience. As you begin to move more purposefully, lifting your head, reaching for light, responding to voices, your heart responds in kind. It quickens when you laugh, slows when you sleep, steadies when you focus. Each new skill, each new sensation shapes the cadence of your pulse. The dance between body and heart deepens, creating a rhythm that is as much about exploration as it is about sustenance. This rhythm carries you forward into learning to walk, to speak, to love, to forgive. With every triumph and setback, your heart beats a little differently. It records not only the passage of time, but the texture of experience. And in these variations, it teaches you resilience, the ability to return to steady ground even after moments of chaos. Your heart also becomes a storyteller. Its beats hold the memory of every joyful shout, every tear shed in silence, every moment of quiet wonder. They remind you that life is a mosaic of feeling, a composition of highs and lows woven together by the steady pulse beneath your ribs. Yet this journey is not travelled alone. Your heart carries the echoes of those who have come before you, the legacy of ancestors whose hearts beat in the same rhythm, through the same cycles of growth and change. It carries the hopes and fears of your family, the love of those who cradle you now. This inheritance shapes your pulse, grounding you in a story larger than yourself. And as you grow, your heart continues to learn the art of balance. The balance between excitement and calm, between effort and rest, between giving and receiving. It learns that some beats are meant to be quick and bright, bursting with energy and possibility, while others are slow and deep, filled with reflection at peace. This balance is the secret to endurance, to joy, to a life well lived. Your heart teaches you the power of presence. It invites you to listen, not only to its own beat, but to the rhythms of the world around you. The rustle of leaves, the laughter of friends, the steady cadence of footsteps on a path. These sounds become part of your own rhythm, weaving you into the tapestry of life. In time, you will come to understand that the journey of 1,000 beats is also the journey inward. Each pulse is a reminder to return to yourself, to find calm amidst noise, to hold space for both motion and stillness. Your heart is your compass, guiding you home no matter where your steps may take you. And now, as you stand on the cusp of tomorrow, your heart beats steady and sure, ready to carry you through all that awaits. It holds within it the wisdom of the past, the vitality of the present, and the promise of the future, a living rhythm that is entirely your own. But even as you prepare to take the next step, your heart remains open, listening for the next call, the next rhythm, the next story to be told. and your heart remains open, listening for the next call, the next rhythm, the next story to be told. But before the day unfolds fully, before the noise and movement gather their chorus, there is a sacred moment, a retreat into stillness, a surrender to the whisper of sleep. And in this quiet descent, your heart sings its softest song, a lullaby woven from the gentle threads of rest, repair, and renewal. Sleep is no mere absence of wakefulness. It is a profound journey, a dance of cycles, a choreography of biological rhythms that cradle your body and mind in healing embrace. And at the center of this dance is your heart, guiding the tempo with a subtlety that escapes notice, but shapes every breath, every cell, every thought. As your eyelids flutter closed, and your body softens into the weightless world of sleep, your heart begins to shift its pace. The robust, busy rhythm of the day gives way to a slower, more rhythmic pulse, tuned to the cycles of rest. The parasympathetic nervous system, like a guardian of the night, takes the lead, weaving its calming influence through the vagus nerve, soothing your sinoatrial node, deepening the spaces between beats. This slowing is not simple, it is elegant and complex. Your heart doesn't merely beat slower, it becomes more variable in its timing, a sign of vitality and health, known as heart rate variability, HRV. These subtle changes reflect your body's ability to respond flexibly to internal and external demands, to shift gracefully between states of alertness and rest. High HRV is a sign of resilience, a heartbeat that listens and adapts, a rhythm that breathes. During sleep, your heart's rhythm cycles alongside your brain's, dipping and rising through the stages of non-REM and REM sleep, mirroring the ebb and flow of consciousness and subconsciousness. In the deeper stages, your pulse slows to a gentle, steady beat, nourishing the quiet processes of cellular repair, memory consolidation, and immune restoration. In REM sleep, your heartbeat becomes more irregular, dancing in tune with vivid dreams and emotional processing. Your breathing too modulates in this nocturnal symphony, with the rise and fall of your chest influencing the vagal tone and thus the heart's rhythm. This phenomenon, called respiratory sinus arrhythmia, creates a harmonious interplay between heart and lungs, a duet that calms the nervous system and encourages restoration. The heart's nocturnal song is not just about physiology, it is a poem of surrender. It teaches you that strength is found not only in action but in rest. That renewal is woven into the quiet spaces, the pauses, the slow beats between the faster ones. In sleep, your heart embodies the wisdom of balance, the rhythm of letting go, of trusting the body's innate capacity to heal and regenerate. Even in your earliest days, nestled safely in darkness, this lullaby was present. It accompanied the gentle rocking of your mother's breath, this slow, rhythmic beating that soothed you before birth and will continue to comfort you through every night thereafter. This is the heartbeat of home. Your heart's song in sleep also connects you to something larger, an ancient rhythm shared by all creatures who rest. The slow, steady pulse that deepens in slumber links you to the wolves howling beneath the moon, the owls perched silently in the trees, the ocean's tides pulsing beneath the stars. In these moments, your heart is not only your own, but part of the world's deep, enduring breath. And as dawn approaches, as the first light filters through the veil of night, your heart begins its gradual awakening. The parasympathetic hold loosens. The sympathetic system stirs gently. Your pulse quickens with promise and preparation. The soft song gives way to a livelier rhythm, ready to meet the day's challenges and joys. But for now, in this moment suspended between darkness and light, your heart continues its lullaby, steady, gentle, perfect in its imperfection, carrying you softly through the sacred space of rest. And just as your breath deepens in this quiet hour, another rhythm begins to rise, a rhythm of hope, of renewal, of the endless cycle of day and night, pulse and pause, breath and stillness. And another rhythm begins to rise, a rhythm of hope, of renewal, of the endless cycle of day and night, pulse and pause, breath and stillness. It is a rhythm that carries the heart's quiet wisdom, a wisdom that cannot be spoken but is deeply known. Your heart is more than muscle and vessel. It is a teacher, a keeper of secrets, a silent guide through the currents of your life. From the earliest moments of your existence, your heart has been learning lessons that go far beyond beating. It knows about patience, the patience to wait for the next beat, the next breath, the next step. It knows about resilience, the ability to recover, to adjust, to find balance again after disturbance. It understands connection, how its rhythm can reach beyond your body, touching others in ways unseen but deeply felt. This wisdom is woven into every fibre of the heart, into the intricate dance of ions that spark each contraction, into the gentle sway of the valves that open and close with perfect timing. It is etched in the memories of every cell, the echoes of every emotion you have yet to feel, the soft imprint of every shared heartbeat you have known. The heart teaches you that life is a series of rhythms, some fast, some slow, some steady, some shifting, but all part of a larger pattern. It encourages you to listen deeply, not only to its own pulse, but to the rhythms around you, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the flow of water in a stream, the cadence of footsteps on a path. These rhythms, ancient and eternal, remind you that you are part of something vast, something enduring. In times of joy, your heart pulses with exuberance, expanding the rhythm, lifting the spirit. In times of sorrow, it slows, grounding you in reflection and healing. It holds your fears and your hopes, your loves and your losses, weaving them into a song uniquely your own. This quiet wisdom also teaches the power of presence, the art of being fully here in this moment with an open heart and steady breath. When you learn to be present, to feel your heart beat without judgment or rush, you find a wellspring of calm and clarity. Your heart, steady and sure, becomes a sanctuary amid the noise and haste of the world. It is here, in this sacred space of presence, that the heart's true strength is revealed. Not in moments of frenzy or fear, but in the stillness between beats, the silence between breaths, the grace of simply being. And so your heart carries you forward, not with loud proclamations or fierce commands, but with a steady, gentle wisdom. It invites you to trust the rhythm of your own life, to find balance in change, to embrace both motion and rest. As the day begins anew, with light spilling softly across your world, your heart beats with promise. It holds within itself the knowledge of where you have been and the courage of where you're going. It is the silent pulse beneath your journey, the quiet wisdom guiding every step. And even now, as your body awakens and your senses stir, your heart listens still for the next rhythm, the next breath, the next moment of grace that will carry you onward. And even now, as your body awakens and your senses stir, your heart listens still for the next rhythm, the next breath, the next moment of grace that will carry you onward. Your heart, though silent to the ears of many, sings an endless song, a melody woven from every beat you have ever taken and every one yet to come. This song is not just a measure of time or a sign of life. It is the music of your being, the soundtrack of your existence, and the pulse that connects you to all that surrounds you. From the first flicker of the sinoatrial node in the earliest days of your formation, to the steady cadence of your waking moments, the heart's song is continuous. It is a testament to endurance, to persistence, to the quiet power of life itself. No matter where your journey leads, your heart will be there, steady, reliable, and full of depth, guiding you through each sunrise and each starry night, through moments of joy and sorrow, of peace and challenge. The heart's endless song is composed of many parts. There is the rhythm, the steady beat that keeps you alive, that moves blood and breath, that sustains every cell. There is the melody, the subtle variations in tempo and force that reflect your moods and experiences, your connections and your fears. There is the harmony, the integration of mind, body and spirit as your heart interacts with the world and with those you love. Within this endless song lies a profound truth, that life is not a series of isolated moments, but a continuous flow, a seamless thread woven from the fabric of time and experience. Your heart, in its tireless rhythm, reminds you of this flow. It teaches you that even when the path seems uncertain or the night feels long, the beat goes on. It encourages you to trust the process, to embrace the unfolding of your own story with patience and courage. This song also speaks of connection. Your heart's rhythm resonates not only within your body, but with the rhythms of others, the breathing of a loved one, the laughter of a friend, the silent heartbeat of a sleeping child. These shared rhythms create a web of belonging, a network of empathy and understanding that transcends words. In the quiet moments when heartbeats align, when breaths sync, you experience the profound unity of all living things. And as you continue on your journey, your heart's song will evolve. It will learn new melodies as you grow, as you love, as you heal. It will hold the echoes of the past and the hopes of the future, carrying you forward with grace and strength. So, as the last gentle pulses of this chapter fade into the soft hush of your breath, remember this. Your heart's song is endless. It is a gift, a guide, a companion. Listen closely to its quiet music and let it lead you gently into all the days and nights yet to come.